A foster mum creating a home where you belong. Hello everybody, welcome to Signposts for Living, and we've got gorgeous Nadine here. How you going, gorgeous?
Oh, good, thank you, Kirsten, and thank you for having me.
No worries. So this is Nadine Taylor, who is a foster mum, and we've known each other for a little while now.
We have.
And when I suggested you come along, what did you think?
It was like, wow, I've never done anything like this before, but you know what? Let's give it a go.
Yeah, well, I enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot. So we're talking about creating a sense of belonging for your foster kids, and I love that topic. But first of all, let's go back a little bit. First of all, how'd you get into foster caring? And then bring us up to today, if that's okay with who's at home.
Yeah, so my husband and I have 8 biological children.
What ages are they roughly?
So
I mean, you do know, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I lose track.
I know.
They're 13 to 26.
Right.
So as the younger one was getting up a bit and out of nappies and, getting a bit independent, I couldn't imagine the home without little feet. So we sort of thought, if we can make a difference to one person's life, let's have a go.
Yeah.
So from there, we've had many children come through the doors.
And had you had any prior exposure to the foster world, foster caring, foster kids?
No. In my younger days, I worked in childcare, but back then I didn't realise, or I suppose I was a bit naive. So no, not really.
Yeah.
And and then at present I have 8 primary placements living in the home.
So a primary placement means
they're on a 2-year order or long-term order. So all my 8 are on long-term orders.
So this is their home for their childhood.
For their whole childhood till they're 18 and beyond if they choose to stay.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And of the 8, how many are from the same biological family group, I guess?
So I have 3 biological family groups. Mm. So there's 3 different sibling groups there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And so how many years now has it been, roughly?
So we started in 2013 with a few respite placements, and then from there it's just grown. And one of the sibling groups, so 2 of the little people that are with us have been with us since 2014, and still going strong.
That is awesome. Wow. And is foster caring what you expected?
No, I'm going to be honest, no.
Yeah, I like honest, yeah.
It has its challenges, and the challenges are not always the young people, because you are dealing with many different other bodies as well, including your government bodies, and then those young people have challenges sometimes, so there's extra agencies brought in and lots of appointments, and so no, not always, a
lot of different people.
Always learning.
A lot of different groups. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So you've recently won an award. Can you tell me what the award is?
I have. So last week I won Category 3 at the Darling Downs Child Protection Awards, and that award was a child protection or family volunteer that works collaboratively across agencies in the child protection or family sector, government and or non-government.
And you scored chocolates?
And I scored a box of chocolates.
Was it a big box?
I don't know, I haven't received it yet.
Well, with all the kids, I don't think they're going to last long.
We might get one each.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't see that award as just solely mine. It's a team award.
And who's in the team?
I owe a lot to my husband, my mum and my sister, and of course all our biological children, because, they go through it too. They go through the emotions,
Absolutely. So, wow, I've got a million questions. Where do you want to start?
Hit me. Go.
Okay. So I am really interested in family. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? So you know, these beautiful kids, they've got their biological families,
Yeah.
and for various reasons they can't live with them, and they're really grappling with the sense of identity with their biological family, a sense of what those relationships are, how to maintain the level of connection that they can.
Yeah.
But they're also well and truly part of your family.
Yes.
And that's their day in, day out, loving, you know, functional family. So how do you go with that sense of belonging in both worlds, and how do the kids go with embracing, you know, your family, and not feeling like they have to, you know, choose, I guess?
So I know I've always described it as, you know, it's very confusing to these young people because we always promote stranger danger, and you don't go with strangers you don't know. But yet these young people are picked up from school and just not returned home, and then said, you know, taken to a family home and said, oh, just sleep here. These people are going to keep you safe. So these poor young people are so on edge. They're so frightened.
Often traumatised.
And they don't know what's going on. So when they first come into the home, of course, it's, you know, you try to keep it mild. You don't give a lot of gifts. You
just keep it a bit
gentle and make them involved as much as possible. So within our home, they go on the job charts. You know, you offer them an extracurriculum activity after school, so a sense of belonging. And then as far as connecting with their own family, you know, although we want to keep them guarded and protected because what they've come from is traumatic and not always okay, you also want to acknowledge that they do have family out there. So you try and find those little things where you can make it where they're still connected, but they're safely connected.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about how important it is to facilitate that time. You know, the family's very important to them, and they need to have a sense that the options are open to them within the realm of what's safe and healthy, and they can't have a sense of restriction or limitation, can they?
No, because I find if you keep them restricted or limited to connecting or having that connection to the biological family, that's when they start looking, and then they don't go looking in the appropriate or safe ways.
Yeah.
So if we can guide them, you know, little things I would do is ask when the parents' birthdays are. So you can still, you know, make a birthday card, or you can purchase a birthday card and still acknowledge that that is their parents' birthdays. Just simple, you know, offer a painting from daycare to the parents. So you're still acknowledging them, you're connecting them, but you're doing it safely.
It's part of the tapestry of their world,
Yes.
a very important part. What are some of the reasons why kids can't stay with their biological families in your experience?
Unfortunately, illegal substance abuse is a big one, which then leads to domestic violence. You know, not being able to provide, so simple, you know, housing, food, which is a big one at the moment, especially.
Yep.
But yeah, unfortunately, illegal substance abuse is probably the biggest.
So lots of drugs and alcohol abuse, and not having a stable, safe home, domestic violence. Yeah, absolutely. I find with my clients it's incredibly difficult because they come in and these are my kids who are foster kids clients, and they say, why can't I live with mum and dad, or why can't I live with mum? And it's really, really difficult because, of course, that's a logical question, but you've got to give them child-based information that isn't degrading toward their parent.
Yes.
But then doesn't simplify them to an insulting level. How do you find that level of disclosure? Obviously, some of the kids come in and, oh my gosh, they're so streetwise. You know, they say, well, you know, mum and dad use ice.
Yeah.
and you're like, right, okay.
Sometimes
they can describe it to you. So
they can teach us some things sometimes.
Yeah.
And you'll find sometimes they're 3 steps ahead of us in their thoughts, and unfortunately, they're very good at survival, so they can manipulate a situation as to how they're in control and they're comfortable with it. But it's hard because you have to be honest. Honesty is a key, I believe, but not giving a lot of information away, if that.
Yeah, trying to keep it child appropriate.
So yeah, I've experienced a young person in my home. So she thought she'd have a go at vaping. And I just went, oh, so what's the reason for this? Well, apparently vapes give you a head spin for about a minute, and that helps her feel good for 1 minute. And I said to her, oh, okay. So after that 1 minute, how do you still feel? Is the problem still there? Yeah. So we're still acknowledging that there's problems, and then we'll talk through, well, let's find alternative, solutions as to how we can help this.
Yeah.
So I'm honest, owning the fact that she's literally crying for help, but being honest too that turning to that is not the answer.
And there really are a lot of intergenerational issues there, hey, because, when these kids are traumatised, they have all of these thoughts and emotions going through them, well and truly consuming them, and then any strategy to try to step out of that and escape can easily, as a teenager, be drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
So, we've really got this whole issue of breaking the cycle. So being able to put it on the table and talk about it, let's not escape with this substance. It's critical, isn't it?
Oh, yes, definitely. And as you say, it is generational. And, especially if these kids have come into care a bit as they're a little bit older, they don't know any different. That's what they've seen, that's what they've heard, that's what they've grown up with, that the solution is to just turn to drugs and alcohol. So we're literally teaching them a whole different way.
And of course, there's a lot of peer pressure happening at that time as well that is normalising this. Yeah. It's just that they're that much more vulnerable.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned coming in at an older age. So have you experienced kids that come in at a younger age versus the, late childhood, early teenage years, and how they go with adjusting with the different ages?
Yeah, so like I've picked little people up from the hospital, newborn, and then I've had up to 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds coming into the home freshly into care. So
they must have a real barbed wire kind of quality, I imagine, or wariness.
Oh, they're very wary, but they come in very tough.
Yeah.
They're tough.
Yeah.
So no matter what you do, they know everything, and so you've got some walls to break down, and you've got to give them time. So just reassurance is a lot, and just making them belong within the home with the family. So, jobs and routine is a really big key factor in my home.
That must be a challenge for some kids who haven't had routine before. How have you gone with the learning curve for them to realise that, streamlined lifestyle is there's some major advantages to that?
It's there's a lot of repercussions. So some days I always say, I don't say it because I like the sound of my own voice, guys.
We've all heard that, haven't we?
It's so it's a lot of repetition.
Yeah.
And, and then you will honestly feel like you're going nowhere. And then all of a sudden one morning it's like it just clicks.
Yep.
And it's like they work out that this is much easier. It is less stressful.
And when they're part of the family, the part of the routine, they've got a sense of contributing. Do you see that sense of security coming from that?
Oh, definitely. And then because then with that they will actually speak a little bit more freely. They'll start to let go of what, is their key worry, I suppose, and then you have a little bit of an idea of what avenue you need to source to help them. And, you can go from there.
Yeah. When I work with foster kids, it can be a very, very long process of them sort of testing me out, checking me out. Do I trust you? Are you consistent? Are you going to disappear? having that kind of I'm fine kind of mask, or I'm happy and fun and giggly, and it's just kind of just sitting with it. And then when they can come and be safe and authentic and vulnerable, it's such an extraordinary thing, and it's such a rich world that they then, invite you into, and you can really get in and do some really exciting work.
Yes.
But it's very much a long haul, which is perfectly fine.
It is a long haul, and you'll be going along fine. You could be going along beautifully for 3 months, longer. And then all of a sudden it's like bang, you have that original person back that came into your home the first day they arrived. And you can think you may know what's triggering them, but sometimes you have no idea. And you start sort of, checking in with them, and you're digging a little bit deeper, and it could be a simple thing like they've had an argument with their friend at school that day, and it's just brought back all the emotions. And but
absolutely. And do you find that there's very different needs? So I imagine some kids, having their own private space is very important. Other kids, I imagine that their possessions might be particularly important because they might have had a very kind of nomadic background, or, those sorts of things, and you kind of work out what they are about. Some people might kind of hoard food.
Yep.
Have you seen that sort of thing?
Oh, yeah. I've had, one little person who will concentrate on what everybody else is doing, and will have to come and tell you what everybody else is doing. Then I've had someone that...
Why do you think he or she might do that?
Well, for one, I think it's trying to connect with you, but it's also...
Like be aligned with you.
Yeah, to be aligned with the adult, or, the person closest in the home. It's a form of, hey, look at me, I'm here. So you're recognising them at the moment. They have your whole attention because you're talking to them. I've had young people who use hoarding, and it's not just food. Like they'll pick up rubbish and just keep it because it's something that they can keep and they have control of that. Then you have those that do just sit in their room. They don't want to talk, but then you also have those that are quite social. They just, you have very, very different broad ranges.
Yeah. And I understand you're on a property. Is that, can you describe,
so
how does it work?
So we're on 70 acres.
70 acres.
Just outside of Toowoomba in Queensland.
Great.
So, which I owe a lot of that to our success as well, because the kids have the land, but they can ride their push bikes, they ride motorbikes, we have horses, so there's plenty to do.
Wow.
And and one advantage of that also is, especially in the teenage years, if they're having a moment and, because they didn't get the answer they like or something, and they're going to storm off, well, they've got a long way to walk if they want to get somewhere. So, we're in town, you can have them, they can run to their friends' houses or somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. And so much, such a wholesome environment.
And it's good because we have the animals, so there's a bit of responsibility, and, because a lot of kids in care, I find, are attached to animals. So that's how they will show their connection and their softer side.
Do you think that's because they feel safer with animals?
Yeah.
Safer, the animals are just there unconditionally loving you. Yeah, and that there's that physical comfort.
Yeah, and then you've got the sensory. They can, dogs, cats, they can pat, they can feel, Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you ever have situations where you think, oh, this is just combustive, this isn't going to work? You're worried that it's going to tip the ship over with everybody else. Do you have those,
Yeah, we've had, I have had a couple of young people in my home that just haven't worked within the dynamics of the home, for various reasons, and that's, you have to be honest within to yourself and to everybody else in the home.
Yep.
Because, not everybody gets along, and some of these kids are coming from significant backgrounds that, you know, we are a large family, so some of the kids are best suited to an only child situation.
Yep.
And I think you have to be honest to yourself and the rest of your, and to the young person as well.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And how do you do washing?
Lots of them.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, we've got 5 kids, you know, and to be honest, it's not a big deal because we're pretty streamlined, really. But how do you guys go? Everyone just pitches in?
Look, we all have jobs. Everybody pitches in. We rotate our jobs every Friday on our job chart.
Right.
And our jobs consist of, take the rubbish out. One person washes up, one person wipes up, someone will sweep the kitchen. Someone has to take the dirty laundry down.
Yep.
I always do the washing. I put it on of a night time. I have a big Maytag washing machine out of the laundromat. Yeah. And but we all work as a team. Once you get into prep, you join the job chart.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Graduation.
Yeah, graduation. You're in the big wide world now.
Yep.
So, yeah. But it works.
And how about dinners and lunches?
So lunches, I normally do the kids' lunches.
Yep.
Only because I know what they're eating then, and
Yep.
they don't pack themselves all sorts of pre-packed stuff. And dinners, the older kids will help. Like one will peel the potatoes, one will get the frozen veggies out, one might cook the meat.
Yep.
But I have a couple who love cooking, and
right.
One's doing a traineeship actually in kitchen hand, so he loves to cook. So the deal is if he cooks our dinner, he doesn't have to clean up.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
And how do you go with holidays? How do you get the horde of everybody to go on holidays?
It's normally a 2-car affair. So
Yeah.
I drive a people mover
Yeah.
that has 12 of us, and then my husband will drive his ute, so he's loaded up and with a trailer. And it's a 2-car affair, and away we go.
Do you do camping?
We do a lot of camping.
Yeah.
So normally we'll go to a big 4 caravan park. We'll get 3 campsites, and we spread out, and the kids are entertained. And
Yeah, because they're the ones where they have lots of kids' activities.
Yep, and they have the big slip and slides, and they're normally right on the beach. And, so you don't have to go anywhere. We take scooters. Yeah, love it.
You just do a head count every now and then.
Every now and then you have to, a bit like a school teacher in a school role.
That's absolutely awesome. So if you don't mind going back to that sense of belonging, how do you go with, what areas press your buttons that you personally find difficult in this whole, journey, I hate that word, but it's true, with bringing in all these different personalities, backgrounds into your home, lots of love, lots of structure in a good way. What do you find personally challenging? In those days you're going to pull your hair out.
So probably what pushes my buttons the most is when the kids just have to constantly come and tell you and like we call it dibber-dobbing, but it's probably not. But they've just got to constantly come in, and they can't just go and play with everybody else. Like everyone else can be playing a game, and they just can't join in the game. And it's like, how hard is it to all play together? When I've had 8 kids grow up and they've all, played together, and that probably pushes my buttons the most.
So this is kids who are needing to...
The adult attention all the time, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I guess they could also be a bit combative, trying to dominate the other.
Yeah.
Get their way.
Yeah, a bit.
You're in trouble. I've got you in trouble. Yeah. And that would be very tiring.
It's mentally draining, very mentally draining. And that's where you have to be honest and think, I can walk away here for 5.
Yep.
And it's okay to walk away for 5. And
yeah.
And you have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
When do you get time for you?
So I always get up like half an hour, 45 minutes earlier than the kids, because I love that first cup of coffee to myself, no noise. So that's my key. And then the younger kids are always in bed by 7:30.
Yeah.
And I don't have internet, I don't have technology during the week. So the older kids will normally watch a show together or something, and I'll read a magazine at the table.
Yeah.
But that first coffee of a morning, that's mine.
Oh, I've been catching the sunrise lately. It's been really nice. you up then? Do you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I am a morning person.
Are you? There you go. And do you see anything, with your experience, this is a very ambitious question.
Yep.
Getting very big here. Looking at the foster system, what do you wish was different? What do you wish, with your experience, how they could approach things differently? I know that this is a government system with lots of, I think there's different independent groups that support foster families to come to this. And I know that it's obviously very much resources and money, has to be allocated, and, so it's a challenging position for the department to be in. But yeah, what's your take on it?
The hardest part is probably they want these kids to be part of a normal family. So they want them to grow up as normal as possible. But that is really difficult when you have so many different people walking through your door, on a monthly basis, taking notes and checking in and asking the kids how they're going. And the kids are constantly reminded that they are different.
So they're being checked on, like with their welfare and how they're settling in and what's going on. But basically that continual kind of check-up is sort of...
It constantly reminds them. And, not all the agencies and the government bodies come at the same time. So some months you might have 4 and 5, depending on the needs of the child, coming into the home. And it's just... the kids get sick of it.
And also there can be a turnover of staff as well, so there can be a lack of continuity. Yeah.
Constantly.
Which is exhausting. And I imagine the kids aren't going to necessarily have meaningful conversations with these people because, as we talked earlier, it takes a long time to build that rapport. Yeah. And also if they get used to their system, they're like, oh, here's another person, there'll be someone else different next week. So I can imagine they'd be quite dismissive of those conversations, maybe. Yeah,
they are. And like as they get a little bit older, I suppose, especially, it's just like, they get a bit of, they come in and ask the same questions, especially when you have that change of staff all the time. They're coming in and repetitively asking the same questions all the time with no solution. So the kids sort of get that way where, why do they keep asking me this?
And obviously this is a sort of a welfare check, a checking to ensure that the children are in good situation. So, I mean, you can understand why they do this.
Oh, definitely, because we need to know that these kids are okay. And, to me they might be okay, but someone else might pick up on something that's not okay. And, so we do need to know they're okay. And at the end of the day, they're biologically not ours. So we still have to be answering to the parents that, yes, their kids are safe. So, and sometimes not only that, as we discussed before, you can some days mentally burn out. So some of your agencies are also checking in on to make sure that the adults are okay.
Yeah, in potentially very, very stressful situations.
Yeah.
So, okay, so no real solution, but that's a real problem.
It is a problem. Solution, I'm not sure how you would fix that. Because,
maybe less frequency of visits, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
But unfortunately, the government body's got boxes they've got to tick, so...
Yeah, and there's good reasons for them. But, I don't know the answer either. Anything else that you would see? Do you think the support for the foster parents is good? Do you think that the training is good? Do you think there's more you wish was out there? I mean, everything can always be improved.
And I did what they called C-STARS training back probably when I'm about 3 years in, and it was a breakdown of the brain, of a child's brain, and how trauma right back from pregnancy can affect the makeup of the brain, and how a child can, although we've got a 10-year-old child, mentally they're at, 4 because of the trauma through the utero. And it was amazing to learn, because a big thing with kids in care is we think they're lying. You always say, you're lying, and you'll watch them do something and then you'll say, what'd you do that for? But I didn't. And it all comes back to the genetic makeup of the brain. So I really think it's so important, this training on understanding the effects.
Probably not the genetic makeup, probably more the neurological sort of developmental processes.
That's probably
yeah. So if they've had trauma early on, they're going to have various responses. So attachment issues, insecurity, hypervigilance, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And it's so I think everybody should have to do that training.
Yeah.
Because I learned so much from that, and it really helps you understand and connect where kids can be at.
Yep.
But yeah, look, and it's building connections. You have to all be on, as much as we disagree at times with, you know, your CSOs and your support agencies, you have to still agree because you're a team and you're there for the same reason, and that's the young person.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming in. I really love this whole topic of belonging and family and what does family mean, and not having a rigid view of that it be just biological, just foster. It isn't. It's everyone's important.
Oh, definitely. Everyone's the same. And my motto is, you know, they aren't biologically mine, but while they're under my roof, they're mine.
That's beautiful.
So, you know, you're treated exactly the same.
Oh.
And sometimes there is those little hurdles you have, but you know, we're there for the children, and that's why we do it.
A lot of love. A lot of love. Well, Nadine, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And I don't know if have you checked me out on social media yet?
No, I've been slightly busy.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Well, there's a webpage that covers all the free resources. So KirstenHunterAuthor.com, Facebook and Instagram, Kirsten Hunter Author, and Twitter, Kirsten Hunter AU. So this is Signpost for Living, and I love when people write in and say, hey, can you talk about this, this and this, and give feedback? And that's always good too. But thank you so much, darling. Appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you, darling.
Bye.